Alright, I got a couple of Peak chargers here, and I wanted to kind of do a review on them and talk about why this Peak charger is actually one of my personal favorites, and I was going to go over why I feel that this is such a good battery charger. You know, whenever you think of battery charger, Schumacher is probably one of the first companies that comes to mind. I mean, it definitely makes some excellent products, and I'm a really huge fan of Schumacher. But like I said, I picked up this Peak charger and it really impressed me. So I'm going to talk about that and how that led to buying this one and why I got that one. So let's take a look at the models here. This is the PKCOCU, and this model over here is the PKCOCV. Alright, so start with the backstory on this one. I picked this charger up at a hardware store back in 2012. It's probably like springtime. And at the time I was working at a shop, they were doing a lot of these, they call them auction cars, which a lot of them were, they're kind of like cars that got damaged in transit to dealerships. You know, a lot of brand new cars that they were damaged in shipping or whatever, so they needed body work done to them. So the shop I was working at kind of had a contract to take care of that. So basically these auction cars, unfortunately, they spend a lot of time in transit, which means they're either sitting in a parking lot or they're on the back of a car hauler, which basically means that the batteries in those cars get severely discharged. So when they show up at the shop, you basically ended up jump starting them all to move them around. So to me that had gotten pretty irritating, and I thought, well, make everybody's life at the shop easier. Every time I go to paint one of these cars, you know, I'll just charge the battery up. So anytime one came over, I'd throw this charger on there and charge it up while I was prepping it or whatever, so that way I didn't have to jump start it to put it in the booth, and no one else had to jump start it to move around the shop. Made everybody's life easier. So yeah, I kind of just picked this thing up on a whim, and I gotta say it actually really impressed me. So let's go over why this thing is so impressive to me. Number one, it's a smart charger. It's fully automatic, and to me the smart charger is really the way to go these days. You know, it has a lot of advantages versus you know, your conventional chargers, and to me it's a lot safer and a lot faster. And one of the key points about this charger is the fact that it has these different amperage selections. You know, you figure most of your battery chargers are going to be the 2 and 10 amp, and that's fine. That's a pretty good selection for amperage. But you know, when take a look at this model, you've got 4, 12, and 25, and the 25 is what really separates this. I mean, that's a lot of charging power considering the size of this charger. So the other thing that's cool about it, it's got this really nice digital display. It's really easy to understand what's going on with this. You got some different display modes. It shows the current or the amp draw, shows the real-time voltage that the charger is putting out, and it also gives you a battery capacity based on a percentage. And then this other button here allows you to select between the 4, 12, and 25 amp. And also it has a built-in fan, so keep it cool when it's charging. So what I actually really like about this charger itself is the fact that it gives you the real-time amperage. And a couple things that come out of that, like it gives me a good idea of how discharged a battery is, and it also helps you do like kind of some light battery diagnosis. You know, if I see that this charger just keeps pulling a certain amount of amperage, you know, maybe it gets down to, you know, 1 or 2 amps and it's just not, it's not finishing the charge. You know, that's a good indication that there's something wrong. Maybe there's an interior light on, you know, maybe there's a light in the trunk that's not shutting off, or something's putting a draw on that battery to where it won't properly fully charge up. So that's kind of an advantage to me, you know, especially in a shop situation. So basically what happens when you plug this thing in, you know, it's going to show you the current draw right off the bat. So, and it starts out at 4 amp. So let's say I had a really discharged battery, you're going to plug this in, it's going to pull, for whatever reason, it only goes up to 3.9 on the 4 amp setting. So You plug it in, jumps up to 3.9. I'll kind of let it sit there for, 5 seconds, see what it's going to do. If it stays at 3.9, I'll click it over to the 12. If it's that discharge, it's going to jump up to 12 and just stay there. If that's the case, if it stays at 12, push the button again, get it up to 25 amps. If it's that discharge, it's going to pull 25 amps. And at that point in time, I can pretty much just walk away from it. And I know that that battery's been pretty severely discharged and was definitely in need of a charging if it's going to pull a full 25 amps. So that's everything that's good about this. It's fully automatic, so I can get on with my business and just leave it alone. And the other thing that's nice about getting into this display is that, just walking by, I can glance at that display and I'll see how many amps it's pulling. It's going to give me an idea of is it down to 2 amps? And I know it's almost charged and everything's cool. But if it's still pulling 25 amps, I know that, obviously this battery was very discharged and still needs more charging. So for me in a shop situation, that worked out really good. So basically how I ended up finding this model, which I didn't even really know existed, I was thinking what am I ever going to do if this thing dies on me and I need to replace it. So I was kind of just searching on the internet to see if I could find a replacement, because I haven't seen it in stores since I bought it, which kind of led me down the road of finding this one. And actually going back to this one, the thing that I find funny about it is this charger got beat up. I mean, I used it every day. And you figure, to me, this charger is really not, it doesn't look like it's designed for heavy use. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, this is a charger someone would use at home, every now and then. It doesn't really strike me as being like some kind of heavy duty model, But this charger took a beating and just kept going. I actually had the power cord got ripped out of this thing because I had it sitting on a car and someone didn't realize the battery charger was on the car, and they went to back the car up and they literally ripped the cord out. And one of the body men I was working with did me the favor of reattaching the cord for me, and I haven't had any problems with it since then. And also, just the environment of a body shop. I've had cars where, we had a car that died in a body shop, so I took it over there and put the charger on, and one of the body men was sanding some body filler down, and basically the charger fan was going and the charger was just sucking all that body filler dust in there. So this thing's taking a beating. I try to keep it clean and blow the dust out of it, but once again, this charger's being used in probably what would be considered a pretty severe environment for a battery charger, and it still works. So I'm pretty impressed. It's had a hard life and it's still working. Probably one of the only things I could complain about with this charger are these clamps. And it's actually kind of hard to complain about them because they're really not that bad, but they could be better. So probably my only gripe is the battery clamps on this model. But yeah, it's intelligent, goes up to 25 amps, got a really nice display. Obviously it's durable because this thing's taken a beating and just kept going. So basically I ended up doing some research to see what I would do to replace that if anything happened to it, and I came across this model. And what really impressed me about this model is it goes up to 40 amps, which is obviously amazing. 40 amps is definitely the upper end of the charging scale. And this thing is pretty heavy duty. As you can see, it's got some really beefy clamps on there. And it actually has dual fans. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unbox that one. And I'm actually going to set it up on the Mustang, show you how that thing works. Alright, so here it is unboxed. And basically get the charger and your instruction manual. And there's actually a really big pocket in the back of this thing to fit the cords. Everything actually fits in there pretty nice. And this model has just really nice clamps on it. As you can see, they're pretty heavy duty, and they actually look like they would fit on a side terminal battery really well. And even the wall plug very heavy duty. I mean, when you compare it to this other model, you know, this is kind of, I mean, I guess that's all this one really needs. It's only going up to 25. But like I said, these clamps can, sometimes they don't work too good, but I can't say I've never been able to get them onto something that I was trying to charge, but it just slightly irritates me sometimes. So, alright, basically what I'm going to do is bust this thing out on the Mustang, take a look at how this thing works. Pretty heavy duty, very heavy cables, and this model actually has 2 fans. This thing's actually pretty heavy. I think this charger weighs like 7 pounds, so this is definitely the this is the no joke edition of peak battery chargers. Alright, so made my battery connections. No, just gotta plug it in. Alright, so this model actually goes up to 4 volts, or 4 amps. And as you can hear, the fan's kicked on. So, and this is a good example, like you're getting a real-time current draw for what this charger's doing. You know, a lot of other battery chargers, they're only going to give you a percentage, or it's just kind of vague information, you know. To me, percentage is not as accurate as having an actual current draw. That shows you the real-time voltage this thing's putting out. And I can also get it showing a percentage. So to me, pretty excellent display features. And if this is anything like the U model, I'm pretty sure this thing's gonna last quite a while, because that other charger was not as heavy duty as this one and definitely went through hell and back, and it's still working. So to me, this model is probably perfect for a shop application, and that 40 amp is really going to save the day when you've got, you know, a very discharged battery, or maybe you've got a big diesel truck, something that's got couple batteries in it. You know, 40 amp is really going to work out well in that application. You know, another thing to keep in mind, it's fully automatic, and it's going to do maintenance mode. So you can just leave this thing hooked up and you don't have to worry about it. Alright, so when this charger's done charging, basically says full. And like I said, it's a maintainer too, so see, it's floating the voltage out. It's almost at 1290. So yeah, this is definitely it's definitely the beast mode charger going up to 40 amps.